Awesome. So, welcome back to another episode of Becoming Cosmic You podcast. So, today we've got a beautiful guest. So, just something a little bit different to everything that I've interviewed people on. And it's really interesting just sharing stories and getting an idea of what these beautiful beings are doing in this world. So, this is beautiful Isabel. Welcome, Isabel.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, you're so welcome. So usually where we start is about is really just asking you like what is it that you do and how did you really get into it? So I don't know if you mind sharing a little bit about your story.
Yes. It's funny because, you get to share your story so many times, I think, through the course of especially in your business and stuff, people ask you, how did you get to this? And it always comes a little bit different, but it's like that's part of it as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, I work with women and also couples, and my main body of work it's really about connecting to our body, the wisdom of our body, to reclaim parts of our sexuality, parts of our relationships, and also like when we expand pleasure in our body, how that also helps in our business. So I do also work with the leaders in leadership and business coaching, but it's all from this concept of like when we feel alive, when we feel juiced up, when we tap into our creativity, it's like when we can actually create so much more, like we are infinite. We remember that we are a portal and there's not actually separation between us and the divine, between one human being and the other human being. We are all equal and we all can tap into the power of our sexuality, of our turn on, and of our aliveness. So
Oh, I love that. That sounds juicy. So what kind of things are you kind of exploring with people at the moment? Like what are you seeing as like the common issues or problems or what are people talking to you about right now?
that's a great question. I feel like there's a lot of this piece that it's about remembering who we are through the power of our sexuality, and also like how to stay connected to our bodies, because these days there's so much information, there is so much trying to do, trying to achieve, like we live in a really fast paced society. And there's this theme that's when we tap into the wisdom of the feminine, and this is like any gender can tap into the wisdom of the feminine, we remember the power of the mystery, the power of the unknown, the power of slowing down, and how that can create much more abundance than not speeding up. Because, if we are, like, say, we're working towards a goal, our brain or like our masculine side can do like, okay, we need to do XYZ.
Mm.
In our feminine brain, we're like, yes, these up and down, like, there's like a little bit of everything. But when we really dive deep into the power, like the power of the earth, like it can shake us all. Like there's so much aliveness into it. What we can create, it might not look like a linear journey, but it can be much more powerful, much more abundance. It doesn't even make sense to have any comprehension. It's like beyond what we are used to do in many ways.
Mm. Yeah, I love that. So yeah, that's a common theme actually in the work that I'm doing at the moment, just entering like a deep, deep state of surrender and showing and guiding people how to be guided through that. Because I don't know if you find, but I find surrender is much more of a being word. You really have to experience yourself to understand what it feels like to do a lot less, kind of like the queen, right? The queen doesn't do all the work. She she delegates people to do the work for her and yeah.
And there's so much power in surrender in a way that's like in society, I think surrender it's used to see as a passive thing. But when you tell me the queen actually, she's really clear of what she's doing. There's a sovereignty, there's a power, there's like an inner knowing, an embodiment of that archetype that it's so solid. So it's not like, I am surrendering, you know, like that's the old view of like the feminine surrendering, like not direction, going with the flow. It's actually like knowing who you are. And for me, that is a really important piece of like when you know who you are, when you know what you're doing, you can surrender to the path. And of course, if you don't know who you are, if you don't know how you're doing, you can still be active in the quest of clarity. And there you connect with divine, God, angels, like whatever you believe in. You can still be really active in the quest. You can still take steps. You don't need to just like, oh, let's see where the day is going to go. And be in that co-creation that it's beyond us. Like we always think like we're alone sometimes, but we're not.
Yeah. I always say to people, if you realize just not how not alone you were, you'd never actually worry about being alone ever again. Because we are constantly guided, right? And supported and loved, and everything moves around us and creates for us. And yeah. But I guess one of the interesting things about your bio is the fact that you also work like in relationships as well. And I know actually from a few of my clients, navigating intimate relationships when you relate to being introverted or starseed, or you've got a business and you're being pulled in all these directions, like actually having an intimate relationship that's healthy is really quite challenging at times. So like what would be your kind of advice there to especially women? Because I think women, everybody expects so much of us, don't they? We're expected to be the mum, the caregiver, the one that cleans and keeps the house, as well as the one that goes out and earn the money. Like we wear so many hats, aren't we? And then we're meant to turn up as this beautiful goddess for this other person, all the time. So, like, what are the kind of things that you're seeing and navigating with your clients around that?
Hmm. It's interesting because I'm actually really at a time, like in this moment, I'm focusing a lot around relationships and dating.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
I'm supporting women that want to open up to love. So women that maybe have been blocked or hurt, or, that they've got some beliefs that has stopped them from attracting somebody that it's suitable, that it's really like open to share that piece of intimacy that you're talking about, because it's not easy to open up to intimacy, especially because I feel there's this piece around love that's we all say we want love, like everybody wants love, but we don't realize that what like we are born with unconditional love, like we are born as unconditional love, but what we learn about love, it's what it's the example that we receive from our caregivers. So if the environment was dysfunctional, if society teaches us about love, something that it's not pure, that it's not like that's full unconditional, like we learn what we are shown. So like later in the days, like at our right now, like what we experience sometimes, if we experience a relationship that it's not healthy, it's because through our eyes that it's love. Through our eyes, that it's what was modeled to us, so we perceive it as love.
Yeah.
So it's not about opening up to love because we're already open to love. It's about rewiring what we think love is and changing these patterns from the core, so we can actually open up to something that's it's always really uncomfortable to open up to intimacy, because when we're really seen, when we're really met, we're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like, it becomes too much. It's like, oh.
Yeah, it's so fascinating as well, isn't it? I think for me, especially from my own personal journey, coming from a history of like child abuse and many layers that I had to work through in my early 20s, to then, like you say, opening yourself up to accept love. But you know, open yourself up also comes with challenges as well. I think like the movies and the films paint love as like this fairy tale, but actually I think love in a partnership is actually about, you know, helping each other through those triggers, helping each other through those moments when actually, you know, it's really difficult and all you want to do is run a mile away because that's what you learn when you're a child, right? Or you want to hide under your bed and like go, no, 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 go away. And I think you learn so much lessons about matching and being present for that other person. And I don't think I was ever taught that from a young child, you know. I think I've actually had to learn it through the doing process.
Yeah, yeah, I absolutely feel what you're saying. Yes, it's a big
Yeah.
piece.
It is a big piece. And I think you know, like you said, intimacy. So how would you help somebody with that? You know, they're having problems, blockages. What are the kind of issues that you're seeing people have around intimacy?
Mm. I feel like usually people are really scared.
Mm,
Yeah, they're really scared of intimacy, and often they don't have a mapping around it. So they
mm,
don't know how to do this. Like, I can speak for personal experience. Like, I was really shut down around love and intimacy, and I was not modeled any type of intimacy in my family. So
mm,
they were like doing their best for sure, but there was not intimacy. There was not even interest about what I was doing, like in my life or like anything. Like it's been
mm,
really like quite distant still these days. And for me, it's been a journey, first of all, of choosing that I wanted to experience love, epic relationships, and eventually understood that intimacy was a part of it, because I was like, I didn't know that that was something missing. I was like, yeah, I'm ready for a soulmate. And of course, like parts of me, I was so freaked out that I couldn't attract that for many years. And the other piece, it's about rewiring the patterns of trust.
mm,
Often, like, women have got trust issues around men. Often we are like scared, like of because we are scared that whatever has been the mapping is gonna come again. Whatever has been a mapping that so we have experienced in a previous relationship or in our childhood, so we're like already going in it, so with already fears and doubts, so we're already shutting down. But
mm,
what we attract is something that reflects these fears, reflects these doubts. And don't take me wrong, like, you know, I still sometimes go through doubts myself. Like sometimes it comes back, the doubt, but it's not running the show. It's not really present most of the time. So there's like a spaciousness and an openness in the body about, you know, what is there. And also, I got to know myself to a level of like knowing like what is good, what it's not good, know
mm,
what is the charming people that I was attracting once upon a time that were always unhealthy relationships. They were always like karmatic stuff.
mm,
Really knowing what that was, and like these patterns have changed. Now the quality of people that I attract, and I've been in the most beautiful relationship for 5 years. Like the quality of people that I attract is completely on another level. Like it's nothing like it was before. Like, yeah. So there's
yeah. And that's so beautiful, isn't it? Like I think on my own journey as well, I had to accept a level of responsibility of what I was attracting. And I think that's sometimes hard to accept, isn't it? Because you're like, well, I'm not a bad person. Why am I attracting these bad people? But like you said, you just from your patterns and what you're believing and your doubts and your fears, you're just sending that Wi-Fi signal out saying, hey, I'm doubting myself. I need another doubter, you know, or the opposite. There's a lot of people who talk about narcissism and empaths and how they connect. I truly believe that we are all wounded on so many levels, just at different stages. And I personally don't always like labels. I think to self-subscribe someone as to something or other, I think can be quite damaging to yourself. It takes away your power, right? If you blaming someone else for what they did to you, then you're giving that power to them. And I think we give away a lot of our power as women, don't we?
Yeah. Oh, yes.
Like when we get married, like I don't know if this happens in your you're obviously not from the UK, are you? Your accent.
No, no, I'm from Europe. I'm half Italian and half Bulgarian. Yeah.
Oh, wow, beautiful. I've been looking at Bulgaria actually to visit. But yeah, like in the UK, the tradition is for the father of the bride to give away the daughter, in marriage, and we give away our virginity, don't we? And all these things where we are taught to like serve men. And I just think
Mm.
like we have such a warped view, don't we, of this feminine way of being.
Yep. Totally, totally. And I feel like that's where lies the bigger part of my work. It's about reclaiming our power, reclaiming our magnetism, feeling epic in our body, in our sexuality, feel like knowing who we are. Most of it, it's like knowing who we are and how great and powerful and that we can attract and have everything that we want. And we truly can.
I believe that. I think there's also, I don't know if you see in your work, there's also quite a lot of shame that goes on around like sexuality and wanting intimacy, but on like a sexual level. I think as women, we are programmed almost to just look for a prince when we're younger. When I was younger, it was never really taught to me that I could be with a female. And then as I got older, I was actually more attracted to women. So I'm actually in a female-female relationship now. But moving through that, there were so many layers of guilt and shame that I had to work through. So many projections from my own parents, making me kind of doubt whether I should be in this relationship. And oh, so much shame. I don't know if you see that in your work as well.
Totally. I've been in a similar journey. Like I've been in a relationship with a woman, but it's been like, a whole of that's happening on the back scenes. But also the piece around, as you named it, around sexuality, it's still a big taboo. Like people are still scared of if you say sexuality on a dinner table, unless you are like in a more like an open community with people that are more like open-minded, everybody gets a bit funny about it. The internet, like on Instagram, I get shadow banned all the time because I can't
Yeah.
even use the word pleasure, which is like
Oh gosh.
I need to change the words and stuff, and it's like there's still a big piece, but I feel one of the biggest thing around it is that people are scared of the power of sexuality and of a woman.
Mm,
People are really scared of our power because there's also these thoughts that if I'm sexually liberated, I'm going to be a slut. No. It's funny because it's actually a bit the opposite, because they actually start discerning what is right for your body and what is not right for your body. When you know yourself, sometimes people, I see that for myself, actually, the more I've done healing around my sexuality, the
mm,
more I'm selective. Like I have less,
mm.
casual encounters that I was having in my 20s.
Yeah.
And completely. And but when I have it, it's a whole another level of like I thought in my 20s I had good sex, and I'm like, no way, this is something another completely different. People are like thinking, okay, I have okay sex. So like some people don't have it, even that, but there's some people that are sort of content in some ways, but they don't know like what else is possible. And when we
Mm,
explore that, it's like wow, you actually realize, even right now that I've done so much work on my sexuality, I know there's so much more possible. And this
mhm,
just shows me that there's the way we can open up, and not just sexually, in life, around business, even money, everything. I feel like it's so linked. The capacity to receive, it's limitless.
mm.
It's limitless.
Yeah.
And
I
we
agree.
choose how we want to, some people are content how they are, and it's beautiful. Like we all choose different paths. For me, it's like, I want to experience as much as I can this lifetime. I'm like, why not? So I'm like, I'm living here once in this body, and I'm like, I want to experience the fullness of life, and a dedication of that is definitely big, freedom, and it's one of my biggest values in many ways in that way.
I agree. And I think like how you receive one thing is how you receive everything. So I think what I unraveled as part of my journey is, at one stage I couldn't even accept a compliment from somebody. I'd just be like, oh, that thing where when someone compliments you on a dress or what you wear and you say, oh, this old thing, I bought it from a charity shop or a thrift store or whatever, however you say in your country. And so most people are deflecting, right? I find most people are hiding what they really want. There might be some women on this podcast who really just want to be sluts and want to go out and, experience sexuality and partners, and if that feels good to them, that's absolutely okay, right? It's like,
Totally,
where's the shame?
totally. I absolutely am with you with that. In every aspect of our life, we choose how to do it, what are our values, what we want to experience. And I totally welcome Annie's last year. Totally. I'm like, whatever it's sexual liberation for one person or the other, it doesn't need to be the same, but whatever is that for us individually, that for me, it's like, yes, a full yes.
And I imagine there are quite a lot of couples, both straight and gay, I'd imagine, that are going through periods where they probably feel distant from their partner. They probably don't feel that intimacy. And I think intimacy, there's so many levels. It's not just about taking your clothes off and having sex. I imagine it's how you receive information, it's how you connect, it's how you touch, it's how you get your heart spaces together. And I think there must be so many people who go without sex and connection in relationships.
Yeah. And I feel like that's why I'm so passionate about Tantra. It's that there are ways to keep that flame. There are ways to keep the fire alive. It's, I think like naturally, like as humans, when we come together, there's like all the hormones and we are like so excited. And there's all like, the sexuality can be really alive and powerful. And naturally that changes because we go more into like knowing each other. And when you know somebody really well, the excitement fades a little bit. But there, I feel like that's the power of bringing like tools and exercises that you can. I actually feel like when you know somebody long term, you can have the best sex. Like it's not at the beginning, it's later. Because you can explore more like sexuality. That's why when I say to people, are you having okay sex? Are you having sex once a month, once a year? If that's your truth, great. But there are ways, even with the person you've been in for a long time, to actually have some sensational, juicy aliveness. And that's what I'm really focusing these days with what I was sharing with you. Like I'm doing these two courses. One is more on dating and like opening to love, and the other one it's more like for couples, like to have thriving relationships. It's really to bring these aspects together for aliveness in a relationship.
And it's so beautiful when you do have like, I work with women who have businesses, but you can always see when someone's got issues in their private life or in their relationships, they will be bringing it up to their work. Everything has a knock-on effect, doesn't it? It's not like you could really have a really super successful business and then have all these issues. You have to be balanced, right? You have to, and I think a lot of, I don't know if you see this in your work, but I see a lot of women showing up not as their true selves and like hiding behind different masks and showing up in different places as different people. And I think, oh, I mean, I remember doing that back in my corporate days, 10 years ago, whatnot, but it must feel awful because you don't really know who you are if you're always being someone different. I just don't know how women do it nowadays.
And that it's a big killer of intimacy and sexuality. Like at the beginning, we feel like that by maybe putting a mask, because lots of people don't feel confident, don't know how to date or how to be in a relationship, and they put masks to, you know, these personas to come out and maybe like play the game for a little bit. But what happens is that actually we are killing the potential of like subtly that it's really unattractive and we don't know it, but it's a big turn off in the long term, but also in the short term, because you can't, if you put a mask, you naturally will attract people that are not truth, that they've got their own masks, that they're not open themselves. It's like, you know, and if somebody's really open, if you attract somebody that is present and it's loving, they won't be attracted to somebody that has a mask.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I do this like dynamic that you see a lot online about like empaths and narcissists. Most empaths are very quite wounded, and narcissists kind of feed into that, don't they? I just think there are so many dynamics that people talk about online, and yet all they need is healing. Both sets of people need to go on the healing journey and then just show up as they are without their masks on. Everyone will be so much happier. Everyone will be getting so much more sex. And when you're getting more sex, you're genuinely feeling happier. The more orgasms you have, the better your fucking life is going to be, basically. I think so, anyway.
Yes, yes, yes.
I'd love to know a bit about tantra as well, Isabel. You mentioned it a moment ago. It's something that I haven't explored, but it's always something that I've been like, oh, that
Mm,
sounds interesting. Like, what is it, and how can you start kind of exploring it if you're interested in that?
beautiful question. It's funny because these days, if you just even Google Tantra, like you're gonna find different opinions, different, because Tantra, it's not originated just in one way. There's different paths of Tantra. There's the left path and the right path, and there's like all the things in between. There's the old, more like yoga, masculine Tantra way. That's the way it's taught. It's really like linear to come to enlightenment and stuff. And for me, there's the other one. It is more like embodied. It's more feminine. It's more like a life force fire. Like for me, Tantra is a way of living.
Mm,
It's a path of liberation, so you can live in more fullness, but ultimately it's a way you're living, like even having a conscious conversation can be Tantra. Like it's really like in the little daily things that we do, that we do Tantra. And of course, there's the side that it's more around sexuality. There's another part that it's all about embodiment, how we deal with emotion. Like it's a bit of, there's a lot of Tantra. And these days, it overlaps a little bit with like tantric practices overlap a little bit with somatic psychotherapy, which is something else that's studied. So there's some similarities, but also there's differences. When you ask me like where to start with Tantra, it's like
so
you know,
much.
there's books, there's podcasts. Like I've got a podcast that's I also share, and it's like, you know, whatever I share in there, it's a lot of Tantra, but it's not necessarily Tantra. But I do have a course that I do, but like it's gonna be a bit later on next year, maybe March, which is called The Magnetic Woman. And that it's all like embodiment, tantra, sexuality, becoming really magnetic. It's life force. It's yum.
Oh, that
Best
sounds
word
really
is it's
juicy.
yum. And
When you started explaining about that, I could tell that you really love that course.
oh yes, I love. You know what? I miss it because last year I didn't do it. This would be like I did it 2 years in a row, and last year, like in 2023, I didn't do it. And I've been like, shall I do it again? Shall I change it? You know, when you're going through these phases in your business, and I'm like, shall I do something a bit different? And it is changing a little bit. It's like, you know, when you do one course, it's like, you know, now I'm doing these relationships courses, but I haven't put them out yet. So I feel the turn on of like what is gonna be, but I don't have the full like spectrum of people that have experienced it yet. So it's like, but with that one, like I know what people have gone through. Like I know because it's been completed, you know, like so that's why I'm like, oh yes, I'm so turned on about it.
I love that. And you
Yeah.
know what? It's really important to be turned on about your work, isn't it? Because otherwise, like I think earning money in this like niche that we're in, you know, we're helping people who are connected spiritually. You have to be connected with them. You have to be connected with your work because otherwise you will earn this money or you will front as your masculine. And then when you earn this money, you'll probably end up just wasting it or not using it in a way that feels good to you. I see that a lot. You know, women who hustle hard and then buy just loads of random stuff that they don't need because there's like this almost guilt there that they've earned this all this money from someone in not an aligned way. And I just feel it's such a shame because we are all spiritual beings here and we've all got amazing stories and gifts and you know we could each create a program instantly from just a story and the life that we've lived to help other people.
Yeah. And it's funny because you speak about money and tantra because my other course is called Tantra of Money. So
Yeah, I love that.
it's really about this piece. But I do absolutely agree with you about the piece of turn on, and also really listening what is present. Like last year, for me, the magnetic woman was not alive. Like, you know, and it's not that I didn't trust the course. It's not that I didn't want to do it. There was something in my whole body that was like, it's not the right time. And this is the piece we were talking at the very beginning of like trust in the feminine, trust in the unknown. Like sometimes, even if we love something, we need to let go of it.
Yeah.
And that happened with me with my previous relationship. Like we still love each other madly, and we needed to let go of it because. And people are like, "Why are you not together?" We still ask each other sometimes, "Why we're not together?" But we know that it's right. That we need to journey separately right now. And if it's aligned, maybe one day we will come together. But we have a deep trust in love, in ourselves and in each other, like we're still best friends and we're trusting. And that it's like that's the part of the feminine. Like sometimes people for successful relationship, it's like you know, happy forever after, like a marriage and kids.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can have a deeply successful relationship that just lasts a year or a few years or a month. Like if that is fully, if it's aligned, if you know, I feel like success in a relationship, it's really different from what society brings into, you know, the prototype of the stereotype of a relationship.
Oh, totally. I think anything in society where there's a norm or there's rules, I think everyone should just be willing to just rip up the rule book and just do it what feels right to them. And your point around, you know, you could have an amazing relationship for a year, but I think people are just so programmed that oftentimes if it's not going to last forever, like you said, they don't want to get into it, but you miss out on so much opportunity to grow with that person that come in for a reason to help you grow to that next stage, you know, and that's what I feel like we're always being prepared for the next stage and the next level. And those people that come in, if you say no, I'm not interested because you're not long term, then actually you kind of miss out, don't you, on those learning lessons and
Yes, and yet I feel it's really important to be true to yourself, to what are your values and what you want to experience. Because sometimes I have women that come to me and they really want to meet love and the one. And if we keep saying yes to things that are not aligned to that, we're also saying to the universe, I'm okay with something that is not exactly what I want. So it's really like depending like on what is your truth. Like if your truth, it's like, I'm actually open to explore and to like grow, you know, and if the one comes, okay, but it's not, I'm not attached to that.
Yeah.
Like go experience it all or something. And sometimes also like not being too rigid. Maybe you're like, no, I want the one, but then something quite good comes in, like you were saying, something good comes and it feels like that there's a growth to do with this person, and you're okay to like, you know, experience that. But knowing that's what is also like your truth. So it's a really funny, it's not, I feel like there's not like a script that works for
Yeah.
everybody.
I agree. I don't believe in scripts with anything. I think I've always said I'm a wing it and see type of person, you know, ebb and flow and just ask your body and yeah, just go with it. And I think another thing that we do along our journeys is we deny ourselves things, you know, we kind of make up the story that we're not worthy of things and we don't go fully into things. I don't know if you experience that with your clients.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, definitely. Worthiness and confidence. It's something I work a lot with people, and that comes in anything, in relationships, in money, in you know, being like attractive, or like you know, things like, you know, how we relate to, especially as women, with our body and things like that. There
Mm.
is so much of this that comes up all the times, I will say.
Yeah, yeah, I know a lot of doubt, and a lot of, I think you see it a lot on social media, a lot of people kind of showing their best selves all the time. And I think it creates a an opportunity for people to compare and worry about their lives. But most of the time, people on social media are, of course, just sharing their best life, you know, and not sharing the struggles and the lessons and the triggers and they remove themselves from this human experience, but we're all experiencing it, you know, in some way, because otherwise you wouldn't be here. You'd be back with however you refer to it as God or the creator or source, and you wouldn't be here to learn. So I think like comparing yourself to other people is just, it will kill your creativity so quickly.
Mm, yeah.
So Isabel, where can people like find you if they want to stalk you and find you and ask you questions or learn more about your work?
I like that word, stalk me.
Yeah, stalk you.
What are you gonna stalk me? um, so Instagram, it's my Instagram. It's Isabel, which is spelled Isabel double underscore Lamar, Lamar. So that's it's where I share mostly like a daily, like, you know, inspiration content stories, so whatever is coming up. But the other piece, because I never know if my Instagram is gonna stay alive because of all these shadow banning and
Mm,
removing all the sexual accounts and stuff.
no.
It's my website, which is Isabel dash no
Yeah.
Lamar.com. So
Oh,
it's
okay,
fine there.
beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, that must be a real struggle with Instagram. I am on Instagram, but I don't really like the energy there, if I'm honest. I don't like the thought of having to take photos all the time of myself. I just don't see the point in it myself. But that's beautiful. So what we'll do, Isabel, is we will share this podcast obviously with our readers and we will put your link so people can message you and contact you. And I just want to thank our listeners for giving up their time and their energy and their patience to connect. And also to you, Isabel, for your time and your energy and sharing your beautiful story and how you're making such a massive difference in the world. And especially in relationships, I think it's really key right now. Like you said right at the beginning, wanting love is one thing, but accepting it and then having it are completely different things, right? So I love that you're so involved with women, but also with couples as well, getting people to work as teams in alignment together. It's such a beautiful project and life's work that you've been given. So thank you for your service here. It's absolutely amazing.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for this opportunity to speak about this, because I do feel that healthy relationships are so important.
Mm.
I think lots of our woundings will have much a softer landing when we are connecting, when we relate in a different ways.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, relationships are everything. Relationships and trust are everything. Everything's built on that, right? So
Yeah.
I'm going to pause this recording and then we'll have a little chat afterwards. So stick around and thank you, readers and watchers. And we'll be
You.
back soon. Thank you, Isabel.